Even before Splatoon 3 launched, I thought Splatfest needed some changes, but back then it seemed like a less popular opinion. Nowadays though, it feels like Splatoon 3 has really soured the idea of Splatfests, or at least people just aren't as optimistic about them as they used to be. As a whole, I felt relatively underwhelmed by Splatfest, despite the fact that I was actually very into big runs, much more than I had with Splatfest. So that being said, let's talk about some ideas we can change for Splatfest in Splatoon 4. So before we even talk about fests, I want to talk a little bit more about Big Run, because I think Big Run works very well, and I don't think it's for a necessarily complicated reason. It's mostly for the fact that Big Run has a lot more new things going for it. Think about it, with the exception of the first Big Run, it's practically always either debuting a brand new Grizzco weapon or a brand new King Salmonid that you'll never have fought before. This gives a big reason to play them every single time they've released throughout the time the content's been active. You get to try out something new for the first time. In addition to that, having a Salmon Run version of a multiplayer stage is very new and unique feeling, much more than the tricolor variations that we had in Splatoon 3. So I think right away you can hook in people more by having Splatfest be the debut of something. The Splatfest would start at the same time as a new season. That would allow Splatfest to be the debut of a new weapon. Or maybe you could do this for the stages. The new stage they put in the game could always be in whatever Splatfest rotation debuts with it, allowing you to get more time to use it. I think that would be an interesting way to tie the content of the game's update cycle to Splatfest and make them more appealing that way. But obviously, I think new content to Splatfest isn't the only thing people are talking about. I think a big point for people has been shaking up the game mode for a bit, because Turf War at nighttime really just isn't that special. I think that Fizzbangs were a solid addition to it, and the unique music and lighting is a good start, but there really has to be something to set that apart. Splatoon 2 and 3 have both had attempts at this. The one looked at much more fondly is the Shifty Stations. These were custom-made stages that usually serve to have some kind of gimmick. That could range from relatively standard to pretty interesting. And while I have my problems with Shifty Stations, I do want to use part of them. The other gimmick we got was Tricolor for Splatoon 3. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of Tricolor. I think the concept is really interesting, and having multiple ink colors on the stage at the same time is great. The problem is the fact that it's two teams that can attack each other that are supposed to be on the same team. I have seen a clip of someone complaining about the other team attacking them almost every single Splatfest, and it just keeps on happening, because of course it does. It's very natural to assume that you should shoot the other team that isn't the same color as you, even though you're supposed to be working with them. It also means that the layout of these stages can be quite hard to make. Nintendo has had to do separate rebalancing of changing how the stages function, something they're doing 2.5 years later, because it turns out quite a few of these stages will naturally bias the attacker or defender too much. The main issue for me with these, though, is that the format just gets a little bit old. Tricolor has not changed since the game came out, with one exception, being that the Grand Fest has a unique gimmick with the Ultra Signal and a unique stage for it. But that's literally it. Shifty Stations would constantly cycle between different gimmicks, ideas, and layouts that made each one of them feel unique. Like with the content part I was talking about earlier, I think this does a good job of making the Splatfest feel distinct for each kind of event. So here's my solution. Rather than making entirely new Shifty Station layouts, just add some of the gimmicks from Shifty Stations to normal stages. Because this is so much simpler, you could do this with a lot more stages. Maybe one stage has a bunch of ride rails being at, another has dash pads. Maybe one of the stages has it start partially submerged, and then the water level will drop halfway through like it does on Maki. Maybe some of the stages' platforms will be scale-based and can move up and down. Maybe some of them will have grapple hooks. We've actually seen some of these happen, like in challenges for instance, where the Rainmaker was available in Turf War, or gushers were placed around the stage. I think that would require much less development time than having to build a whole brand new stage, and would be a cool way to make the stages feel more distinct. To me, that's a very healthy compromise between what Shifty Stations did well, while being a lot more realistic. Another problem I have with Splatfest is the matchmaking. I think that Splatfest have some of the worst matchmaking in the entire series. It's no coincidence that a lot of people complaining about spawn camping or noob stomping happens during Splatfest. Let's take a look at the two main modes of matchmaking you have with each other. You have the normal mode and the pro mode. In the normal mode, you can play with an entire team, and a pro mode, you can play solo. You might see the problem with this right away. Say you want to sweat in Splatfest with a group of people, which is something you might want to do if you want to get the rewards quickly, because you do get rewarded for stacking on things like using the same weapon or gear with your teammates. Because of that, a lot of people who are going to be sweating in the Splatfest are going to be playing with a group, which means they will not be put into the pro mode, they will be put into the normal mode. I have no idea why it's like this. In my opinion, there should be a pro mode for individuals and teams that would give you clout and perhaps allow you to rank up faster to encourage players who are trying to get through the event quickly to prioritize it. That can allow the players who are trying to relax more and chill during the Splatfest to have their own queue, which I think would help with a lot of the matchmaking problems. But you want to know a really easy way to get a lot of the sweaty players off of Turf War? Ranked modes. Look, over the years, I've had less of a problem with the ranked modes being gone, but I still don't think it's a smart decision to take multiple days where 4 out of the 5 of your main modes playing the game are gone. It would be really easy to just add one ranked queue, and to be honest, it would be really cool to see what the ranked modes look like at nighttime. You could actually add to these if you want to make them a little bit more different. For example, Octo Expansion has a unique tower jingle, so what if the tower jingle would change during Splatfest? Maybe something like hearing the idol of the team you're on if you picked up the Rainmaker, or were riding the tower, or controlling the Splat Zone. Something like that. I'm not asking for these to replace Turf War. I'm asking for them to just be another option you can play in. That's it. That's honestly all the main points I have to say, but let me bring up one more thing. This is very much a small point that I don't think will change much people's opinion of Splatfest, but the Splatfest tee. I do not like having to re-level up or add chunks to a new piece of gear every single time. It's especially annoying if you try to do private battles and it auto-selects the Splatfest tee for you. Happens a lot in tournaments. I also just like organizing my gear, and the fact that I can't organize any of the shirts during Splatfest is something that just I notice. To me, there's a very simple solution to this. Just have the Splatfest tee be this kind of overshirt. You wear it on top of whatever shirt you're wearing. That way you can still select whatever shirt and abilities you want to be using normally, but you'll still be wearing the Splatfest tee on top of it. I feel like that's a very easy solution. And as a bonus for that, because Ability Doubler isn't in the game, Nintendo can finally stop banning Splatfest tees in tournaments. I don't know why they do this, by the way. I don't think anyone does. And that's it for my takes. I don't think Splatfest need the biggest change in the world or anything, but I do think the event could be a little bit more special. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you want to see more content on Splatoon 4, check out this video about a whole new perk system for the game.